Good morning, culés. It is time to wake up and Barça. Live Barcelona news coming at you right here on the Undefeated channel. Today is a special episode. Not only is it a Saturday special, but we've got a special guest. LIA BINKIN will be joining us here today to go over an El Clasico match preview. We'll be talking the lineups, we'll talk predictions, and of course, we'll respond to your questions in the chat as we go over the El Clasico match preview right here on the Undefeated channel. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe so you can be part of the conversation for this live match preview for El Clasico. It is coming up on Sunday. We'll be doing a live watch along, so make sure you tune back in for that. Come hang out with your fellow culés while we cheer on the Blaugrana. With that out of the way, my friends, let's go ahead and kick things off the right way.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuning in to the Undefeated Mustache John.
All right, intro out of the way. Let me, without any further ado, introduce you, Stash Squad, to LIA BINKIN, one of Barcelona's biggest content creators. LIA, say hello to the Stash Squad. Why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, hello everybody.
All right, LIA, where can the Stash Squad find you?
On my TikTok, which is just LIA BINKIN, so LIABINKIN.
Absolutely, and LIA, that's where I found you. I saw a few of your videos. You're always very clever, positive energy too, which is a big part of what we promote on this channel. So I'm happy to have you. This is our first time meeting. This is your first time on the channel. This is our first time chatting. And as much as I would love to start off on a positive foot, right? We know that this was a rough week for Barcelona and for the culés community. So LIA, talk to us first. What was your reaction to that Inter Milan match?
I feel like it's the hope that kills you, because that Dembele goal, like I was so hopeful. Like first half, they were really pressing, really giving Inter a run for their money. And then second half, it kind of went out the way. And I think it was just a matter of overconfidence. And because Barca was pressing so up front, they left room for Inter to counterattack, which was a big part in why Barcelona had games where they lost last season. They left too much room for the other team to counterattack.
Yeah, amen to that. I think that's been a struggle for Barcelona the past few years. I think for me, some of that, I hate to do it, but I do point some fingers at Busquets just with the lack of pace and covering sideline to sideline. But that's all that I'm going to say negative, because I love Busquets and I don't even like to say anything negative about El Capitan. But there is some blame being passed around, right? Is in your mind, how much of this falls on Xavi and not being able to get the results?
When it comes to Xavi, I'm going to say this. I'm not the type of person that looks to blame for like injuries or anything like that, because at the end of the day, you have to put the best squad up front forward no matter what, because every team goes through injuries. That's the matter of like the game. But I think people need to give Xavi a break, because before international break, the team was doing well. They were defending together. It was a unit. And I think after international break, obviously losing basically all our center backs, Araujo, Koundé, Christensen, I feel like that just caused a whole issue right there. And then Xavi had no choice but to play certain players that he kept on the bench, because there was no other option there for him. So I don't understand people blaming Xavi. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like, Xavi out, he has Spanish bias, which I kind of disagree with, because he had no choice in playing PK and he literally benched Alba, one of his friends. I just think people are just very reactionary.
I think that's very insightful. Reactionary, I think, is a good word to describe it. This channel is all about community and conversation, but even I had to be like, all right, I'm going to check out for a couple of days, because this is getting bad. It was affecting my own mental health. I was like, okay, we just have to pull the reins back a little bit, relax. For me, I think, yes, to everything that you said, yes, regarding the injuries. And then on top of that, I don't know how much you can blame Xavi when it was something like 25 shots, 11 on target, something like that. That to me is an indicator that we got the tactics right, that we're doing our part. And if not for really what I saw as 3 individual defensive errors, PK on the first one, keeping everybody on side, Busquets, again, I swear, I love Busquets. I'm not being negative about him. But Busquets not hustling back and giving the ball away for the second. And then the third, you could say circumstances, we're pushing too far up, but Kessié not getting back, covering the counterattack. If not for those three individual mistakes, Barcelona wins this match. We're not even having that conversation, right? So I don't know how the Barcelona community gets so determined, so hyper focused on the manager every time. Some of it does come down to the players, you know? So you mentioned some of our current captains that Xavi has had to make some tough decisions with in terms of playing time. Jordi Alba, Piqué, Sergio Roberto. Busquets is the one that's been consistent. He's been on the pitch whenever he's available. Talk to me a little bit about what your interpretation is regarding our current captains, their legacy, their status. What's going on in your mind?
To me, they're always going to be, they're legends of the club, no matter what. Like in their prime, they did what they had to do for the club. Do I think it's time for them to leave? Yes. But I think people forget, like in the case of Piqué, I think we saw against the Inter game, it's just, he had some good moments last season, but right now I would put Araujo, Koundé, Eric Garcia, Christensen over him. When it comes to a player like Busquets, even though he's slow and makes mistakes, in the first half, he was pretty solid. Second half, he just started like making passes that are just very unlike him. And I think people forget that it's so hard to replace a player like Busquets. Even though he's not in his prime now, he is somebody that it could be like the heart of that midfield. And it just is sad that he could have one good game and then one bad game and then everyone hates on him. But it is like time for us to like figure out a way that we could have another CDM. It's hard to replace him, but we kind of have to keep moving forward. In the case of Alba, he was doing pretty well. It's just his pace. Like he has defensive issues, but his pace is also, I think, a reason that Xavi does like bench him because that causes problems for counterattack. And Sergio Roberto actually has surprised me this season. He's had good moments.
Yeah. On that point, Sergio Roberto is one for me that I think, again, gets too much hate, disrespect even. People forget that way back when, Sergio Roberto was supposed to be a replacement in the midfield for Xavi, for Iniesta. But at the time, Dani Alves had just left the club, and I don't know how we're in this situation again, did not have any right backs. And so Sergio Roberto steps up and for the better part of a decade played out of position because that's what the club needed. So he, in a lot of ways, sacrificed his own individual career success. He could have gone anywhere in Europe and I think been a starting midfielder, but he didn't do that. He stuck with the club. He did what the club needed to do. And now, is he past his prime? Does he have his areas where he can be a little bit frustrating? Sure. But give me a name of who's a better option right now with who's healthy and who's available, you know? So
You're
Roberto's it, right?
Yeah. Sergi, like, he's really a midfield player, but we don't have any spots open in the midfield. So it's either you play him there, you play him as right back, and his like pace just like ruins the defensive abilities.
Yeah, that's what it is. I did like how Xavi was using him against Inter, a little bit more inverted, which I think supports Busquets to again, not force him to have to cover sideline to sideline. So I like what you said there, particularly right at the beginning, that they're always going to be our captains. They're always going to have their legacy. I think Barcelona, prior to Laporta coming back in, with Messi as the exception, of course, Barcelona have this trend now of not treating our legacy players, our legends, the right way on the way out. You know, what do you think is leading that? How have we gotten to this point where we're disrespecting our legends?
I think it's just frustration, and I understand it. I get it. Like after so many defeats in the Champions League, especially after every year, they're like, it's going to be different. Like we get all our hopes up, and then they just kind of plummet down again. And then when you have Piqué, who in 2020 said if new blood were to come in, he would leave. Like the captain's not taking that extra step, like how Xavi and Iniesta did, realizing like it's time to bring new people in because we can't give our best to the club anymore. I think that's just what creates the frustration. And I think for most fans, that's like what I'm seeing, where they feel like the captains still think that they're somewhat in their prime when they're not. So I think that's the whole reasoning for that.
Yeah. Iniesta is, to me, Xavi did I think a nice job too, but Iniesta to me is the example of how to slowly step back his playing time decreased, but he didn't make a big stink about it. He didn't pout on the bench. He realized that's part of the cycle. You got to give those younger guys the chance. And he was there for a year or two to coach, to develop, and then stepped away. So, yeah, I think that's the model. So you mentioned hope, Leah. You talked about hope. It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
We're not technically in Europa League yet. Is there any little sliver of hope that you're holding on to that we can make it out of the group stage?
I mean, I'm always a positive person, so I always think anything is possible. Do I think it's like gonna happen? To be honest, not real. I think we're gonna go to Europa because right now, if Inter Milan win their next game, which it looks like it's happening, they should win. We're going to Europa. But at the end of the day, what if we do go to Europa? What I want to happen is for Barcelona, unlike last season, to actually win Europa League, because last season, I don't that whole Frankfurt situation in the stadium, whatever it was, that mentality block, I don't know what happened, but that should have never have happened. Barcelona had a good enough team to win the Europa, and they were showing so much improvement that maybe going back to Europa League would actually be a good thing for like the development of the players. And like there's going to be some good competition in Europa. Like a lot of good teams are going to Europa League, so maybe that's like a win kind of situation at this point.
Yeah, you look at some of the clubs that are headed in that direction, right? I think Juventus, I think, are mathematically already in Europa League. Either way, they're headed there. Manchester United, Atletico Madrid. There's also a couple other English Premier League teams that are in tough groups that might get dropped down. Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool might end up in Europa League. So yes, it was a punch to the gut when it happened. I am also trying to remain positive about it. I think miracles happen, right?
Yeah, gotta believe in the miracles.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not optimistic, but I'm still gonna tune in. I'm gonna hope for the best. At this point, for Champions League or Europa League, I'm looking for a quality performance more than anything else. I'm not too focused on the results. I just want to see good football. I want Barcelona's play to put a smile on my face again. That's what I'm looking for.
I agree with that, because even when Barcelona win and it's not good football, it doesn't feel like a win. Like, yeah, we got the 3 points, but is it like, it doesn't feel like we won, because like you never want to win with football that's, just like poor, like the other team played better, but you just got lucky and scored.
Yeah. I say all the time, there's a reason why we didn't have Jose Mourinho as our manager, because we don't want to win a defensive 1-0 victory, even if it brings a trophy. Historically, Barcelona is style first, right? You play the Barcelona style of football. It's joyful, it's passionate, it's the tiki-taka, and then trophies come from that. But I'm a results second kind of supporter. I want to see Barcelona play football the right way, because it puts joy in my heart. That's why I watch, Absolutely. Okay, so moving on then. Let's talk about El Clasico. Let's start out with some positive thoughts. Share with us a memory or two that's one of your favorite El Clasico moments.
Well, one of like the memories like that for me that I could just think up the top of my head is probably that run by Sergio Roberto, 2017, Messi's last minute goal. And of course last season, because last season's El Clasico, the Bernabeu, having all those players score, being 4 up, just it brought me joy to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people forget that Sergio Roberto was a big part of that run. Everyone focuses on the end result, of course. That's fantastic. For me, yeah, two come to mind. Lionel Messi, of course, holding up his jersey in front of the Madrid fans. That's a classic. But the one that also, thinking way back, in my younger days, 2006. Ronaldinho, I think it was 2006, might have been 2005. Ronaldinho, if you recall this match, dribbling past Sergio Ramos, a young right back at the time, putting 2 goals past Casillas, and the Real Madrid fans applauding Ronaldinho at the... I'm getting chills just talking about it. Those two for me jump out.
I rewatch that clip all the time, just seeing them applaud him. Chills. I feel like there's only 2 players they've ever applauded Ronaldinho, and I believe they also applauded Iniesta. I think, at one time.
I think that's accurate. I don't recall any other situations where that's happened. I know, yeah, I can't think of any other players. PK is not going to get a round of applause at the Camp Nou, at the Bernabeu anytime soon, by any means. But that match is coming up. It's a big one for Barcelona. We do have some injuries, but good news, right? Koundé is reported 100% positive. That's the headlines this morning, so we're all getting pumped about it.
Hopefully.
Shall we jump over and talk about a starting 11?
Yes, we can get into that.
All right, so Leah, you can't see it on the screen, but everyone else watching at home, I've got our graphic up with all of Barcelona's healthy available players. We're going to build this out. We'll talk out what we think is the best 11 for Barcelona taking on Real Madrid. I figure we should probably start from the back.
Yeah. So I guess goalkeeper, which Ter Stegen. No, I feel like Ter Stegen has saved us so many times this season. He's on good form. I just hope it continues.
Yeah, amen to that. I've been saying on this channel, I think just about every match preview, that Ter Stegen is returning to form. He's getting back to that elite status in Europe, and I'm very excited about it. So yes, agreed on that. No arguments. It's Ter Stegen between the posts.
Okay. Then the defense gets tricky with the injuries, but I think right now I would put Balde as left back, because I think on the right back position, yes, he could play on it, but I don't think he feels comfortable at all. And he doesn't track back to help like whoever's on like that right wing side. So if it's Dembele or Rafinha, it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, agreed to that. It was an interesting experiment. His pace works on either side, but you said it. He looks a little bit uncomfortable. So maybe with some more time and training that he can get over that. But I'm with you on that. Balde left back sounds good to me. What else you got?
Center back gets tricky because we do have Koundé that's available, but a lot of we literally have no right backs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like you could put Sergio Roberto as right back, but that's going to be a whole issue.
Yeah,
so
Vinny Jr. running at whoever's in that right back position scares me.
It really does. I'm going to say probably Koundé. I got to put him as right back. That's the only option I see right now that could work.
Okay, I dig it. And like I said, Xavi said he's 100% fit. And if that's the case, that's where his role was. Now, is Koundé a better center back than the ones we have currently available? Probably. But he's also much better than the right backs we have available. And I think I'm going to say he's the only defender that I feel confident marking Vinny Jr. one-on-one.
Me too. Because I also heard that they want to put Balde in left back and then put Balde as right back and Alonso at left back. But that's a whole mess in the speed, and like I think that's going to be confusing.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, I think that's a good balance. Balde left back, Koundé right back. That gives us some pace. That gives us some passing ability. It puts Balde back on his more comfortable left side. I'm with you so far, Leah. You're doing great. What else we got?
Center back. One of them has to be Eric Garcia.
Amen.
I know people got mad at him because he made like a mistake versus Inter, but like he's been doing so good. He has improved. One mistake does not it may have cost us here a goal, but I can't really blame him. You make mistakes. That's how you learn. He's still young.
Yeah, you're going to make mistakes in football. I would say outside, and even the goal that was given up, could he have marked a little bit tighter? Could he have been a little bit quicker to react after Martinez brought that ball down? Sure. But you could also argue that someone else from Barca should have been around to support defensively, that he marked Martinez or Dzeko, whoever was up top, one-on-one for a lot of that match. I thought he had an incredible performance. So I'm with you again. Garcia's out there. Who's standing next to him, though?
I feel like the only option we have is PK. That's the only option. Christensen is injured. Araujo is injured. We have PK, which I think having maybe Koundé there, maybe like help out, because we do have like Eric, who's good at passing. Koundé's pretty good. Even like if he plays on that right back role, he could drop back to help defend. So maybe putting PK there won't be an issue. And maybe he'll actually learn from what happened against Inter and it was just like a fluke.
Yeah, that had to have, I got to imagine that had to have been a sleepless night for PK. Like he had a rough summer. He hasn't been getting any playing time. Everyone knows that he's on his way out the door. This was a big opportunity on a big stage. And then he was it wasn't even like there's not even any argument. He was clearly to blame for that first goal. So you know
He was
what?
doing some telekinesis.
You're right. Yeah. I hope he gets to start, and I hope he plays well, because the other option is that Alonso is that second center back. And
So slow. That's the issue. Like, he's good, but he's slow, and that like is problems. And Real Madrid, I know, are going to counterattack. So that's just not going to work whatsoever.
yeah. I think I'm cool with PK being out there because he'll mostly mark Benzema, who also lacks pace, right? So that's kind of a scratch. And then that leaves Garcia a little bit more free to close down those initial passes building out from the counterattack. When it's going to go to one of their midfielders like a Modric or a Valverde, he can step up with that high press like we saw. So, okay, I'm liking what we got going on here. Let's go to the midfield then. This could be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, this is controversial.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you got, Leah?
Okay, definitely Pedri. Because Pedri has been one of our best midfielders. During that Inter game, he was making passes, like everything he's been doing. He just allows like those forward runs that he makes really helps leads to goals. So I'm gonna keep Pedri in that midfield, no matter what.
Yeah, you can't bench Pedri. You just can't. The little magic man. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. I know that reports are saying Xavi's been asking for more goals, more assists. It'll come. I love his ability to maintain possession and draw not just one, but two, sometimes three defenders towards him in the midfield and get out of those dilemmas. So it's very impressive to watch. Puts a smile on my face. One of the little slivers of hope we have, even in the dark days of Barcelona. Who's playing next to him?
This gets tricky. I'm going to say this. People are saying take Busquets out, put Kessie in CDM. The issue is Kessie is good. He came back from an injury. He was not even supposed to play for that Inter game, which is another reason why people need to calm down on Xavi for not using him. There's a reason for that. Yep. But every single time he does play in that midfield for Barca, he is not the best midfielder, I would say, at the moment for Barcelona, just because he needs time to adapt. It's a different style. I do see that there's potential there for him to play really well. But again, completely different system, needs more time. It's only been like 2 months, a month, I say. Yeah. I don't know if I would place him. Frankie, on the other hand, maybe I would play in CDM.
Okay, tell me more.
I think that Busquets' pace may be an issue for this game. And after that interview, I think there was an interview where he said, like, our hopes are down after, like, for El Clasico or whatever. Him saying that as a captain, as much as I love him, I just feel like we need positive energy, and that energy is not really as positive. So putting Frankie there, I feel like Frankie right now does want to win. And I think he does contribute, allows Barcelona to push more up front and does make those runs like Pedri does. And he has a good connection with Pedri.
Yeah, I'm into that. So, boy, Leah, I'm jumping on that train with you. I hope Xavi pulls the trigger on it. I hope that not that it's what we saw last year of bench Busquets. I don't want to see that hashtag going on. But if Xavi wants to take a gamble and make a statement, I think this is the match to do it. Yeah. Frankie de Jong at that center defensive mid role. You saw him in the last, 10, 15 minutes against Inter. That was some of the best Frankie that I've seen in that position. He looked determined. He looked like he was comfortable and knew what he was doing, right? So
with Frankie, I think he does drop back also to help out the defense, which is great. And in general, like, he wasn't playing. I don't think the reason he started the Inter Milan game had to do that he picked up a muscle injury, just came back. And muscle injuries are just tricky because it's either you risk playing him, he gets more injured, and then he's out for longer, or you just gamble with the game and just hope for the best.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. And again, some of our fellow culés not taking that into consideration, piling the blame onto Xavi and critiquing his starting 11 and his decisions around substitutes. But yeah, well said. So Gavi then as the third midfielder?
Gavi's been getting a lot of hate, and I don't understand why. It's like a situation between Frankie and Gavi and who starts. For me, Gavi has to start. They have to start together somehow or some way. Gavi really, he's everywhere on that field. He becomes a center back. He goes up front, becomes like a striker. Then he like goes back into the midfield. He really presses, and I think his fire is necessary for a game like El Clasico.
Amen to that. Again, the passion and the energy that he brings, that doggedness, right? He's a little pit bull. I think that's going to be great energy for El Clasico. I'm very impressed with the commitment that we're seeing from him on the defensive end. We all know what he can do in the midfield on the attack and in the transition, but on the defensive end, tracking back, like you said, getting stuck in on those tackles. So, yeah, I'm with you again. I think we're in alignment here, taking a big decision, but Frankie in that defensive mid role with Pedri and Gavi playing in front of him.
I think my only complaint with Gavi is that because he's like, still very young, physicality wise, not the strongest, which makes it easier for like more experienced players to kind of push him on the ground and steal the ball away from him. But that comes, I think, as he gets older. I think the same situation happened with Pedri, and then he just gained more muscle, and now he's like just more confident.
Yeah, Gavi doesn't shy away from the physical challenges, but he'll, in the next couple of years, he'll get a little bit more meat on his bones, right? He'll thicken up a little bit. Another one on that point, and this is, again, in defense of Xavi, Balde for me is another one of those players. He's got a good physique, don't get me wrong, but he's on the smaller side, and going up against Inter with Martinez and Dzeko up top, I think they were just going to body him, and I think that's why he didn't get the start, and I think that was actually the right call from Xavi.
I also think if he would have started and like a mistake would have happened, everyone would have been hating on Balde, and that is not good for his confidence or his like ability to grow as a player. Yes, he needs to like make mistakes to learn, like that's just part of like developing as a player, but not against such a big game like this where if he makes a mistake, all the fans are going to be coming at him, hating on him after, but like a week ago we're praising him. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah, no, that's, again, very insightful. Good context to provide there, Leah. That's good for the Kool-Aids from around the world to hear. That's a good message. All right, then. On to the attack. What do we got, Leah?
Well, Lewandowski definitely has to be striker. That's simple, straightforward.
Boom.
The left wing and right wing is where it gets tricky because both Rafinha and Dembele prefer playing on the right wing. They do their best on that side. You play Dembele a left wing, he gives, but he doesn't give the same as he does when he plays on the right. Same thing with Rafinha. We have Ansu who could play left wing, but I think it's a confidence issue. I think a lot of people have been hating on him ever since his injury. People don't understand he was so good before it, and we have to kind of support him and not say that he doesn't deserve the number 10 because the legacy has to just keep moving forward. And we just got to give him our best support so he doesn't have that mental block that he has now.
Yeah, it is a little bit tricky. You said it again. Dembele and Rafinha both prefer the right side, can play both sides, but far more productive on the right-hand side. So we got our choices, right? What are you going with?
I'm going to play Dembele at right. I feel like he adds something. He could produce something. I just only could see him playing very well on the right. I think if we do play Rafinha on the left, they could swap places, which they normally do during the game.
Yep.
So I guess I'm going to say Dembele right and Rafinha left.
Okay. All right. Here's how I see it. When they're both on the pitch, you play through whoever is on the right wing. You do that for, 15, 20 minutes and then swap and let the other one be the main focus going through that right wing. Because that allows whoever's on the left to get a little breather. And then again, 15, 20 minutes go by, swap it again. I think that's the best way to get the most out of each player and give the defense a bit of a headache, keeping with the fresh legs rotating like that. Catch your breath, take a little break on that left wing, come back to the right and go at it again.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree on that because I would say play Ansu, but I'm just really worried right now with his confidence. And I think having him come on as a sub, that's where I've seen Ansu be more productive. Like he brings that spark when he comes on as a substitute rather than when he starts.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about Fati going 90 minutes,
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about also.
Yeah, so
we'll get injured.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think it's going to be we got to be patient with Ansu Fati. He'll get there. But I think what we got here is a pretty strong starting 11. So just to review, we got, of course, Ter Stegen between the posts. We got Balde, Eric Garcia, Piqué, and Koundé for our back four. We're going with De Jong, replacing Busquets with Pedri and Gavi alongside him. And then we got Rafinha on the left, Lewandowski centrally, and Dembele on the right. That's a pretty sound lineup. I honestly think that's the best that we're going to see, right? Go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, I think that's the best we could do right now. Obviously, I would love Araujo to be there, but he's out. I would love maybe to include Christensen rather than PK, but Christensen's out. But there's good news that that a lot of players may be back the next few weeks or so. So hopefully we get our defense back, and then again, once the World Cup ends, are back to like a Barcelona that's good defensively and defends like a unit.
Yeah, amen to that. We still have, whatever happens, we've got things to look forward to. We're gonna stick with it. We're gonna support the badge and the good and the bad, right? Okay, so that's our lineup. I feel good about it. Predictions wise, what do you got?
Predictions are so tricky because after that Inter game, I don't know what to like even think anymore. I would say this: it's either gonna end in a tie, or Barcelona, I have hope that they're going to win. My reasoning for that is because we are obviously out of we don't have our starting center backs that we usually would have, but Real Madrid also do not have Courtois. Now I do think that obviously they still have Lunin, who he has been good. I haven't really watched him play, but I've heard from what Real Madrid fans have been saying, he has been good. But again, having Courtois is just that extra little something. And then when you have Lewandowski up front, you would definitely want Courtois being there.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I like your optimism. If Barcelona win, what's the scoreline?
I'm going to say 2-1. 2-3 Barça, forgetting that this is an away game for Barça.
Okay.
I'm going to say Vinny will score, Benzema will score. And then for Barça, I'm going to say Lewandowski brace. And then for that third, I would kind of want to say Rafinha.
Okay, let's go. I love it. Ooh, all right. Oh man, I was talking about predictions the other day with folks, and I'm a little bit suspicious it might end up being 0-0. We get a little bit too caught up and bogged down in the midfield. Neither team really wants to fully open up. That's a possibility. I hope that's not the case. I hope we see an open, exciting match.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Barca. I'm gonna go 1 from Lewandowski, 1 from Pedri, and 1 from Piqué. Okay, get it out there. Pedri. What did I say? Pedri, Dembele, and Piqué.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Piqué scoring El Clasico. I feel like that's his game. He just has to.
How about this? It's 2-1. It's late in the game. We're under pressure. Real Madrid are knocking on the door, and Piqué heads in a goal to seal the victory late in the match, and the Culés celebrate him for the rest of the season.
I can see that happening. Piqué has a way of, even when the fans could be against him, he has a way of just bringing that slimmer of good news that everyone you gotta love Piqué no matter what when it comes to that.
Yeah. He'll always have a special place in my heart for sure. Absolutely. All right, looking a little bit further down the line, does Barcelona get a trophy this year?
Yeah, I could see it happening. I mean, I think for La Liga, it really depends on El Clasico. I think that's definitely the deciding factor. Now, whether we go to Europa League, I think that all depends. I haven't seen Barcelona truly prove to me that they are capable of winning if they stay in UCL or if they go to Europa League. I don't see that yet. I need them to prove to me more. And maybe that'll happen after the World Cup once we get more of our players back. We'll see. For Copa del Rey, I always see Barcelona winning that. I feel like they should win that.
That's got to be ours, right? We have to, no excuses. That's got to be our trophy. La Liga will be tough. Like you said, I think it will come down to the 2 El Clasicos. I don't think there's really another contender for La Liga this season. And Europa League will be a tough run if we end up there. Like we mentioned earlier, Manchester United, Atletico, Juventus, and maybe some other Premier League teams all might be joining us down there. So yeah, I think Copa del Rey definitely has to be ours, but I'm hopeful for La Liga as well. I think we can do it.
I think we took La Liga for granted. We need to bring it. We need to truly bring it back. I think this El Clasico, yes, we're coming in with it with not the best hopes as opposed to Real Madrid, who are probably coming in with like much higher hopes, but I do have faith. And I think, again, I did say last season that it seems like this season will be a tough race between Real Madrid and Barcelona, and it has proven to be that. So just got to hope for the best.
Just got to hope for the best, for sure. All right. Before I get you out of here, let's talk a little bit about, as we continue to build this Barcelona team, right? There's been some rumors. We're not anywhere near a transfer window, of course, but when you talk football and you talk Barcelona, there's always going to be rumors around who's coming in, who's going, right? So looking at either January, really more realistically next summer, who would you maybe look to bring in to bolster this Barcelona squad next year?
I think my main focus is definitely that right back spot because we don't have any right back. I mean, Des is on loan in AC Milan, but I don't think Barcelona I don't think Xavi really likes him in that spot. And then we have Bellerin, but his contract ends in 2023. I don't know if they're going to extend. Depends on how he performs, I think. But in general, definitely have to look for a right back. I heard a few names thrown out there like Frimpong and Pedro Porro, but I haven't watched them really play. All I see is like from obviously their stats and like highlights. I haven't really seen them, so I can't really say much on that, but definitely have to. We always spend a lot on forwards, but we really need to spend a lot on that right back spot this summer.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move too, because that's our biggest hole right now. And by bringing in a right back, it's almost two birds, one stone, because it allows Koundé to move back centrally, and then we have Araujo and Koundé as our starting center back pair. So I think that's a great move. I would love it. I don't think any of them are going to really be affordable, but I would love it if we could steal one of the English right backs, either Trent Alexander-Arnold or Reece James. I'd even take a Kyle Walker at this point. I would, you know what I mean? Give me one of those right backs.
Yeah, I want them, but like I'm thinking about it, I think they're not going to be affordable and they're not going to want to leave their clubs. Yeah. And if they are, I would be so shocked and surprised. But honestly, knowing Barcelona from the last summer transfer window that we just recently had, I don't even know what magic trick Laporta and Alemany pulled, but they somehow got every player that they wanted, except maybe the likes of Bernardo Silva. So
sure. Yeah, and he's another one that I'm sure will be back on the headlines for transfer rumors when the time comes, but we'll see. I think he would fit in well, but we do have a very crowded midfield. You know, Nico's going to come back. Who knows what else happens on the summer transfer window, but either way, I think we're building a good team. I think we're over the complete redo of the squad. We're now just keeping it fresh. You know, in the next couple of years, we'll have to replace Lewandowski, left back once Alonso and Jordi Alba move on in the next couple of years. But I think you said it. The right back position is really where we need to focus and set our priority for this summer. I think that's accurate. Yeah. All right, Leah, anything else before I get you out of here? Anything that we didn't discuss? Anything that you haven't said that's just on your mind that you need to get off your chest?
Nothing. I just hope Barca win tomorrow. That's all.
Amen to that. Absolutely. So tell the Stash Squad, where can folks find you so that they can keep up with your content?
On TikTok, and my username is Leah BINKIN. So again, LIABINKIN, and that's where I post all Barca content. Maybe sometime with the World Cup coming up, I'll pay attention more towards the World Cup now.
Good stuff. Well, big things happening for Leah BINKIN. I'm glad that we were able to make this connection. I really appreciate you coming on to the channel, having this conversation. I know the Stash Squad appreciates it. This was, I'm sure, a nice little pick-me-up, put some smiles on some faces. So thank you again, Leah. I will put all of her information down in the description. So please follow Leah on TikTok and all of her social media accounts. I'll have her back on as soon as we can for some more conversation. But until then, my friends, I hope you have a wonderful day. Go out there and do great things. High fives and hugs for whoever wants it. And I will see you next time right here on the Undefeated channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking a ride.